Hello everyone, welcome to round 5 of this Reddit League racing series that we've got season 1 going on put together. Jeppy unfortunately not able to join us with his lovely voiceovers from the live commentary last week, so I'm going to go ahead and jump in and take his place just for the time being in a semi-live commentary. I've grabbed his stream down and I'm going to go ahead and talk over it for you guys as we get ready to head out in the Xbox division. So right now, Boomtech is currently leading the championship at 86 points, followed up by QX Nemesis in the Ferrari right behind him, 70 points. So we've got a little bit of a gap to NGP Racer, who is on 45 points right now to round out your top 3. Now, the combination of the Red Bull team of both Gallymooms5 and M. Denelson are sitting pretty close within striking distance there, and they are on 41 and 36 points apiece. So we'll see what happens during this qualifying session and see who can make the moves to put themselves into the position, as we are still fairly early on in this season with plenty of ground left to be made up, and Boomtech coming out as the early front runner. So far riding a streak of 4 straight podiums coming into this race. So let's go ahead and see who gets out on the track first. We'll take a peek and check and see what kind of lap times people are putting up in this early set of the qualifying session. Obviously, the track is going to develop and get a little quicker later on, but we'll see what kind of setups are running quickly and what kind of strategies people are taking a look at around Bahrain here. Obviously, out in the desert, the sand on the track creates a pretty highly abrasive surface, so qualifying on the right set of tires could be a key to making a good run around this track. Typically, if you're out on the soft tires, a 2-stopper is going to be basically necessary, with those that are able to qualify on the mediums able to have a little bit of a choice in strategy, whether they want to go to a 1-stop going from the mediums onto the hards, or if they want to open their options and maybe go with a faster tire at the end. But there's a nice long train all getting on the pit out there tight together. We've got Williams, Renault, McLaren of Fast Driver 6. One of the Ferraris is out there. A Racing Point, it looks like a Haas at the back, but these first laps are all going to be about trying to find your own little piece of track, trying to avoid the dirty air, and see what kind of lap times we can put in. So we're checking out Fast 6 driver in the McLaren right now. He is sitting just behind Denelson in the standings, so he is sitting P6, only 2 points back of him, so still within striking distance of getting into that top 3 fight, but it's going to take some results. It looks like somebody's gone off there early on, so there's going to be some yellow flags waved and somebody losing a little bit of track position to try and get it. It looks like the Renault is out there, but as you look on the left timing screen, pretty much everybody is out on the track. Habs fan Nick is in. K3 in the Alfa Romeo is still in the pit lane. Felix is in the pit lane, so both the Toro Rossos are in there. And NGP Racer, the only other guy not out on the track at the moment. So it looks like the first cars are just about to start their flying laps over there. It looks like the kind of pale blue dots of one of the Williams. It appears to be MJ Povey's out first, and then it looks like Peabody's is just starting his flying lap there. So now we've got Fast 6 getting on his flying lap as well, just behind the Ferrari in front of him. That looks like QX Nemesis in front of him there. So one of the top leaders of the championship right now. Looks like Nemesis is out on a set of hard tires, while Fast 6 is out on a set of the soft. So an interesting strategy, trying to get a banker time in on those harder tires, it looks like, whereas Fast 6 is just going to go ahead and go for it. So it looks like pretty much everybody who's done the pit out early on has gone through and gotten around and started their lap. As Fast 6 goes purple in the first sector, it looks there. And he's really riding up behind QX Nemesis. I wonder if that's going to cost him time throughout Sector 2, which has a few pretty aero-limited corners. So they're coming through Turn 10, a little bit of a wiggle getting into the braking zone there. Maybe it was caused by backing up behind QX, but that's why you just got to kind of carve out your own spot on the track, leave some gap to the guys in front of you to try and get into that clean air. Now, it's definitely unfortunate for him. It looks as he's kind of sat in the turbulent air of QX in front of him, so it might be hampering his ability to really get his absolute optimum lap time in. But that being said, early on in the qualifying session, you're just looking to put in a fairly clean lap and be safe. So far, MJ Povey first across the line, a 28.5 on the soft tire, Peabody's follows him through with a 29.1, so the first times are finally starting to come in. Fast 6, a 129.4. It looks like QX, there we go, 29.2 on that hard tire. So let's go ahead and grab the view of Boom Tech as he comes across the line. Jumps into P3 at the moment, 29.2. And there you go. Swift's one of the newcomers, one of the group that joined with us last week. He goes to the top of the table, a 27.9. So a very quick time, but quickly taken over by Denelson there, going 27.7. So the times are just dropping quick, even in the early session before the track has had really a chance to evolve and dial in. Looks like the top 10 at the moment is set. Looks like a lot of people in the mid-29s right now in their first run, but the top guys are out in the 28s and the 27s. So a decent bit of spread across the field. Looks like a couple of guys have jumped in and not set a lap time yet that were out on that pit out, but it doesn't look like the Toro Rossos have left the garage quite yet either, so they might be playing around with setups. And there's a little bit of a contact made coming through turn 4. That might have gotten in the way of Chuck, who appears to be on a flying lap. Hopefully he was able to get through it all right and not cost himself too much time, but as you know, anytime somebody's out and around, that's typically pretty bad news. So yellow flags back in sector 1. It looks like one of the tan dots of one of the Haas's has had a little bit of a moment there, but is just getting back on track. And there we go. The entire course is all green once again. We're still riding on board with Chuck for his first flying lap that will be registered. He hasn't set a time just yet as he comes across sector 2 split there. He's at a 108.5 at the number 2 split. We'll see what kind of ground he can make. Sector 3 is pretty much 2 big long runs, and if you nail 2 braking zones, you can put up a good time in sector 3. A lot of time to be lost, not a lot of time to be gained. If you make a big mistake on one of the exits, then you've really just tanked that entire time. So he's crossing the line. He goes P13. It looks like that issue in the turn 1 area definitely held him up, a 31.1. Not the best for him at the moment. It looks like all the top guys right now are all in the pits. Denelson, Squifts, Povey, and Golly Mooms are up in the top and in the pit lane at the moment. It looks like Peabody's went out for another lap, perhaps. He's still at a 128.9. Looks like there's some yellow flags in sector 2, sector 3, and there is AWD diving into the pit lane there to jump in, make some adjustments to the car maybe, and grab a fresh set of tires. So here's Boom Tech on a set of hard tires. Again, looks like trying to keep the options open, coming pretty slowly through, so probably on an in lap and not a fast lap. It does appear that MJ Povey, who's in the top 3 right now, is on an out lap of his own, so he's probably going to be looking to improve and see if he can move himself further up the grid, start challenging for that front row. And it looks like Boom Tech is coming in off of those hard tires. So let's jump ahead. K3M just starting a flying lap, coming across the line there. DRS open. He is on a set of these soft tires, so definitely going to push, not worry about what tire gets him through the qualification. Now, for some of the guys, it's going to be necessary to run the soft tires to try and get into that top 10. So they're not going to have the opportunity, and it may be even a case where being just outside the top 10 could be a benefit to really allow you a bit of strategy. But it looks like K3 has gone purple in the first sector according to the minimap there. See if he can keep it nice and clean through the hairpin in sector 2. Really an interesting sector to run, sector 2. A lot of corners. There's really only one straight. Otherwise, it is twisting, turning, and then, of course, the very difficult braking zone. Turn 9 into turn 10. You're turning, you're braking, you're coming downhill after going uphill. The car is just all kinds of unsettled, and if you can really nail that braking zone, you're up in a good spot. And then, of course, coming up through turns 11, 12, and on to 13, avoiding the inside curb of turn 12, which is the death curve if you touch it. But he's gone purple through sector 2 there, according to the mini-map. See if he can run himself up the table, see how far up the field he's able to put himself. Looks like the other top guys Dennelson, Squiffs, Gali are all on out laps, and maybe had an invalidated lap time diving into the pit lane. Perhaps had gone a little wide. Not sure why he's just dipping in there, but we are back with Racer 04, who is on the medium compound, trying to qualify with that alternate strategy to work with that there. A little bit of yellow flags in a Sector 1 there, but it appears it's just for the pit out. Looks like the Racing Point was letting that Toro Rosso by. And there's Racer setting a 129.6. And moved him into 12th place right now. So guys on the bottom of the bottom of the field, I would say outside the top 10. I was gonna say bottom half, but we don't have a full 20 racers here today, so it's not really the bottom half. But as it stands right now, Fast 6, Racer, AWD, Onslaught, Chuck, Habs Fan Nick, K3, and Felix the Feline are sitting in a position to have a bit of tire choice. And here we are on board with Squiffs, who's picking up a little bit of a tow from his teammate who's on the outlap there, Voki. A little bit of team help as he gets out of the way on that flying lap. We'll see Squiffs right now sitting P2 if they can go any higher. But a quick rundown as we are just getting under 8 minutes to go of this 18-minute qualifying session. Dennelson still holding provisional pole at the moment. Squiffs pretty close behind Povey. Number 3, Fast 6 is up into 4th. Gali P5. P-Bods is at a 128.9 in P6. NGP Racer 7th. Boomtech 8th. Nemesis 9th. And Voki is the last in the top 10 at the moment. So Squiff crosses the line, improves a little bit, goes to a 127.7, but not quite enough to knock Dennelson off the top spot, who is on a flying lap now of his own. It looks like just about everybody has managed to set a time at this point. Just a couple of people at the bottom of the field that are looking to get their last couple of laps in. Really, at this stage of the qualifying session, you're looking to just kind of figure out when you're going to get out at the perfect moment to try and set that absolute banger of a lap time. And here comes Dennelson across the line. Goes a little bit better. Holds provisional pole, a 127.6. And also Gali right behind, crossing the line at a 128.2 to jump in to the second row of the grid here. So we're on with the other car on the second row of the grid. Fast 6 driver, who has put in a 128.3, is on a fast lap of his own at the moment. Coming to the start of Sector 2 here, down that little S section. Really try to not run wide on that left-hander. If you get onto that outside curb, there's a little bit of a hop and a bump that can really unsettle the car, but you want to try and carry as much speed and get as wide as you can. So here he comes into the tricky braking zone and hairpin. Turns 9 and 10, gets the throttle down nicely, and is down the only little straight line that is in this entire sector. Otherwise, it is twisty, turny, and an absolute mess to try and overtake through. So definitely a section of the track that only the bravest will try and make positions up through that area. Otherwise, it's much smarter to just kind of settle in, keep your front wing attached, and just ride your way through. So we're jumping around a little bit here. Jumping onto Gali, who is also running through. It looks like he might be doing an in-lap here. Yeah, it doesn't seem to be pushing the car too hard through those corners, so it looks like he'll be probably coming back in. Keep an eye on Fast 6's time. As you see that orange dot getting close to the line, is he able to improve on that 28.3? It doesn't look like it. Looks like he's ducked into the pits and is going to get probably his last set of tires on at the moment. Now Boomtech riding that podium streak, a little bit down in the order at the moment. Probably doesn't seem to have gotten maybe a clear track. If we're expecting his pace typically throughout the rest of the season, I would assume that the clear track is the issue. Same thing with Voki, who's a little bit further down than I would probably expect based on his pace beforehand. So a 129.3 looks like he may have had some issues finding his own clear space of track, but it only makes for interesting races when the fastest guys end up a little bit down the order, because they are likely to find a way to storm their way through the field. It looks like Boomtech working his way past one of the Williams that just kind of got caught in a bit of an inopportune position. Really, definitely probably cost BoomTech a couple attempts by having to overtake through that area. So we'll see what that does for his time coming across the start-finish line. Looks like a pretty clean exit out of the final corner. He's at a 29.2 at the moment. And there you go, 28.3, improves by almost a full second, jumps into the top 5. Now sitting on the 3rd row of the grid and swinging out wide to let... I believe that is going to be Povey through on his fast lap. Let's jump down. We'll hop on board with Povey as he's coming through turn 4, avoiding the Sebastian Vettel's spin location. It looks like BoomTech is happy with their lap time with only 3 minutes left to go. Is going to go ahead and retire from the session now. Probably not enough time to actually come in and get another set of tires on and go for another lap. So it's a decent spot to call it a day. There's a DRS open down that tiny little infield straight is what I'll call it in Sector 2 there. And then into the big elevation change as you come up through turns 11 and 12. Try and carry as much speed, swing way out wide. The car gets a very light feeling as you crest that hill and carry into the sloping braking zone of turn 13, and then the long shoot down to turn 14. Good overtaking opportunity. It's not a DRS zone, but it's straight enough and you can get a good enough slipstream to make some positions there throughout the race. We'll see if Povey can improve on their time. Improves by about 0.2, moves up into position 5, moves BoomTech down, although they're still sharing the same row on the grid, so it's not a huge loss out for BoomTech at the moment. Looks like Swift's is out on a flying lap here. Looks like Gallia's and Peabods are also looking to get a final flying lap in as they're on their out laps right now. A lot of chaos, a lot of action around the track. No moments throughout this short qualifying session where there's nobody on track. There's always somebody out there. In some of the longer qualifying sessions, and especially if you're doing the full Q1, Q2, Q3 setup, there's times you can get a little bit of empty space on the track. But here, action all the time as Squifts is coming out of the last corner. See what kind of lap time he can set as he crosses the line. Goes provisional pole, a 27.3. Just getting even quicker as a new fastest lap is set for the session. And that will likely be his last lap of the session. So he's going to hold on to that and keep an eye in the garage and see what everybody else can do. So a few other out laps around there. It looks like K3 has decided to retire from the session at P9 at the moment provisionally. We're on board with QX Nemesis in the Ferrari. Just 1 minute left to go in the session. He's on his flying lap, so a 29.259 is what he's looking to improve upon as he is coming through the heart of Sector 2, getting ready to hit the tail end of it and jump out into Sector 3. Navigates the tricky braking zone and exit of turn 13 fairly nicely, it would seem, and shoots straight down. So Felix the Feline are next to retire as 130.536, sitting in 16th place at the moment. And we'll see if Nemesis can improve. Jumps big time to a 28.075 up to P3. Snags a spot on the second row of the grid. And that will be a good time to get that one in. There's not a lot of people that are going to be able to turn in another lap that is necessarily better. But here is Denelson on his flying lap into turn 1. This is going to be right at the tail end of the session here. One of the last cars out to start a flying lap. It looks like he is, in fact, the last car to start the flying lap. And we will see if he can put himself onto pole position. There's no provisional about it. The time is expired. Who is going to take that front spot on the grid? Swinging through the hairpin. Shooting up the hill, trying to get that traction down nice and clean. Easy to wheel spin out of that corner. One thing about this track, if you're running no traction control, it's very important to manage your short shifts. Really try and grab a gear early to help manage your wheel spin. And especially over the full race distance where you can really light up some rear tires and cause some serious problems for yourself if you're not careful on the throttle there. But here he is sweeping through, about to hit the tail end of Sector 2. He goes purple in Sector 2. That's a good sign for his lap time thus far. He's the fastest there throughout the day. Runs a little bit wide, but you're going to get away with that one. That's not necessarily a penalty zone. Not going to invalidate the track, using all of the track limits as he can, entering that corner, swinging wide through the final corner, down the last straight here, and shoots across the line, goes on to pole position, does a 27.2 it would appear, and takes the top spot in this qualifying session. So starting from a great position. He is on the soft tires though, so we'll have to see what kind of strategy he is going to be able to come through. So quick rundown of the grid. So starting at the top, Denelson, Squifts, Fast 6, Nemesis, Gully, Peabods, MJ Povey, Boomtech, Habsfadnik, and NGP Racers P10. And outside of that, K3M, Voki, Quimbulus, Racer 04, Onslaught, AWD Turbo, Felix, and Chuck will be in the outside the top 10 and have their free choice of tire for this race. So we'll see if the tire choices can mix it up. It looks like we have 3 guys in the top 10. Nemesis, Racer, and Boomtech were able to qualify on those medium tires, so they will have kind of an ideal choice in strategy as well. More options for them. They're not necessarily stuck into the 2-stopper unless they really want it. It's going to be an interesting run today with some of the top runners in the championship starting a little bit further down the field than you would expect. Especially Boomtech, who is the championship leader, starting down just inside the top 10. I think he's starting P8. So definitely has some ground to claw their way through in this one. But we'll see as everybody's getting loaded in for the session, getting their strategies and their tire setups and fuel loads all set as the session clock ticks down to 0, and everybody will get on the grid for the formation lap. And there we go as the front of the field moves off and everybody gets offline one by one, testing their start revs, trying not to bog the car down, and now the very noticeable wiggle of every motorsport to get those slick tires up to temperature, which is very important around this track. It also is, though, important around this track not to overheat them, but having tires at the right temperature on the start can be the difference between leading into turn 1 or getting swallowed up by the field. So Denelson is the de facto safety car here, using his own pace to send himself around and get his tires up to temperature. It looks like Squifts is kind of hounding right on his tail all the way through, kind of urging him along. But no passing. Got to stay there and get everything good to go. So everybody's kind of checking their steering wheels, getting themselves comfortable in their seat, or, wiping the sweat off their hands if they're on gamepad. And taking the last few final breaths as you get ready to focus intently on the 5 red lights and try and get a good getaway. Good potential for some mayhem at the start of this one. Anytime you have a fairly short run into a hairpin, everybody's gonna kind of try and look to jump ahead. But Squift's being a bit naughty there, jumping over the de facto safety car. Interesting that the game doesn't have penalties for it, so I guess it's okay. But in the real world, you would definitely be serving some kind of penalty for passing the safety car in that situation. So getting to the grid rather rapidly. A couple other cars that went off track and were auto set to the grid have already arrived. It looks like the Haas of AWD and the Racing Point of Voki. And they'll be ghosted, so everybody else who does their burnouts pulling into their grid spots will just kind of phase right through them until they pull in. It looks like the leader just pulling up. There is Denelson. There is Nemesis P4 on the grid. And there's Fast 6 kind of slotting his way into his grid slot as well. So we'll let the rest of the field form up behind. Looks like we're going to jump on board with Squiffs for the start of this race at the moment, but the quick camera changes now. Everybody is fully loaded in, and the lights are up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a little bit of a hold, a big hold, and then the lights go out, and we are off and running. Delson wheel spin, turns into the side, gets loose. Squiffs and him come together. Squiffs bounces off the wall, rolls out into the track, and already a safety car deployed. Huge mayhem all over, and Squiffs is not happy with what happened there. He's already swiping over to smack Denelson in the front there, as everybody's got to kind of form up and get in there. Let's keep it calm, boys. And having been playing the game for a while, if you have traction control off on the start, sometimes if you overcook it, the rear end just, will slip a little bit and you start to rotate one direction. Now, you may have had a chance to save it, but looked like Squiffs was already moving over to the left there to kind of squeeze, so there was just no room to save the car when it got lost there. And an unfortunate start as we are already under safety car. But right now, QX Nemesis is sitting P1. Gali Mooms has moved up a couple of positions. Fast 6 has held his spot down, has gotten through there. Peabody's up a couple of spots, and the big losers, unfortunately, are the front row of Denelson and Squiffs has dropped all the way to the back, and MJ Povey also got caught up in there. Everybody else has, in a way, gained a little bit of a position there, but we're settling in, and as we run right now in the top 10, we've got Nemesis, Gali, Fast 6, Peabods. Boomtech has made a pretty good jump from 8th to 5th, surviving the carnage, so that's going to help out with them being a little out of position at the start. And we've got NGP Racer in the other Ferrari. We've got Habs fan Nick, Racer 04, Onslaught 33 in the Mercedes, and K3M. Now, Onslaught is in a position he'd probably like to keep, only on 2 points for the championship season thus far, but is in a good spot now. I believe he started on the medium, so has a good chance to make up some ground, have a kind of favorable strategy, but it looks like some other people picked up some damage. We're jumping on with K3M. New wing going on there, hard tires going on. Going to try and stretch that stint. It looks also like AWD in the Haas has also had an issue. There is Squiffs getting a new front wing there. Denelson also new front wing. So a lot of new wings after that carnage. Surprised to see only 5 cars pit in after that. Looked like a pretty big mess, but looks like some guys may have just taken hits to the side pods that got them kind of nudged out of the way. But luckily, the safety car was deployed, so these guys are going to be able to, in fact, catch the field back up and jump in. So few strategies out. Looks like Squiffs is out on the soft tires. An interesting choice on the strategy. Is going to just kind of go full out. And Nemesis picking up a 10-second track limits penalty in lap 2. I wonder what that was. An interesting penalty by the stewards, to say the least. If you cut the track, you're not exactly gaining any advantage under safety car here, and he is the leader. So a very strange warning and time penalty to see up at the top. But as we cruise around behind the safety car, checking out those pretty lights on that Mercedes AMG that has continued to lead the F1 field around year after year. We will let the rear of the field, those guys who dove into the pits, kind of catch up the field before we get running again. And one of the funny things that I always have to kind of remind myself when I'm watching especially real-life F1 races is you see these F1 cars just kind of trundling around slowly behind the safety car. And a 5-second severe collision penalty with AWD for K3M. I wonder if somebody checked up back there and had to get on the brakes, wasn't paying too much attention, and caused a collision there. So unfortunately not on cameras. We'll have to ask the guys afterwards what happened there. But it looks like, unfortunately, K3M got into the back of AWD and is having to pit for another new front wing. That's going to cost him another 4 positions there, but he is still going to be able to catch up the field here. But as I was saying before that comes out, you see these F1 cars just kind of cruising around casually, like just feels so slow. It's important to kind of remind yourself that the safety car is actually pretty much driving full pelt around the track. Like they're pretty on the limit the way they drive the safety car, just to keep any kind of temperature in the tires here for these guys. As you usually hear the on driver radios complaining about the safety car needs to speed up. My tires are getting cold. As we saw a little bit of a moment there as Fast 6 ran up on Gali a little bit quick and had to get on the brakes to avoid a bit of a touchy there. And Squift's picking up a 5-second penalty at the back. It looks like they are not done scrapping their frustrations out at the back of the field. Now it looks like Squift's has overtaken Denelson under the safety car there. So there's a chance of some penalties being handed out post-race for this kind of scrapping and disagreement. So we're going to switch on. It looks like Denelson coming back through to take his position back and just kind of giving a little nudge. Apparently we've got some Dan Tictum action going on through passing cars under safety car, making contact under safety car. Like there's some unhappiness going on here, but looks like K3M has basically caught his way back up. The safety car is in this lap, and Denelson picking up frustration penalties as well as everybody slows down and backs up. So frustrations abound. I mean, could have been left alone, I think, but definitely something that the race stewards will probably want to take a look at after the race. Denelson trying to take his position back before the safety car expires. Surprised that Squifts has been allowed to stay in front of Denelson that long under safety car conditions. But, you know, not sure what's going on back there. Didn't get to see it happen, but now it looks like Squifts is going to try and make his way up the inside, dives down Povey and Felix the Feline, makes it 3 wide, and just kind of gets his elbows out and barges through, swings to the outside, gives contact to Chuck SRQ and forces him out wide. So the frustration's definitely showing for Squibbs. He's trying to get through and again just kind of dives in on Povey there. Povey was looking to have a little bit of a move, maybe was a little far back, but with the field this tight up, it's tough. You got to try and not create more issues and more safety cars. I mean, we've had a safety car that already cost us 4 laps at the start of the race here. It's important not to completely just force everybody off track. Got to try and race a little bit cleanly, I think. But here he is making a move on his teammate Voki. Gets along the inside, not quite close enough to make his way through, but he is in the slipstream. Maybe going to have a look around the outside as we come through turn 11. Grabs a little slipstream, switches it back, goes to the inside, and makes that move stick. Not like I was saying in the qualifying session, takes a brave move to make that one happen. And then there he is coming through there, car sideways. Looks like Peabody's was through and pinches the car of Quimulus against the apex there. Luckily, Peabody's was ghosted as Quimulus came through. But looks like it was not so fortunate for K3M as he picked up a 3-second collision penalty with Peabody's, even though he was going to retire. So unfortunate to hit that. And Squift's brake checks and cuts into the pit lane as the virtual safety car is deployed for that last incident. So now another group of cars in the pit lane. Habsfan Nick, K3M, Squiffs, Onslaught, and Denelson. K3M, Squiffs, and Denelson getting their second pit stop underway in the first 5 laps of this race. So more wing damage, more problems for them as they are going to try and still have to try and work their way through that field. Ooh, and Onslaught picks up a drive-through penalty for speeding under the VSC. And it looks like Fast 6 out of P3 has lost connection there. So Fast 6 driver's AI robot will be taking over. And it looks like guys are getting up to speed now. And it looks like the racing is back underway from the same VSC. So here we go. We have Boomtech right behind Fast 6. And lucky for Boomtech in an area that normally you can't really easily overtake through. Ooh, he gets loose. Oh, slides through, nearly makes contact, but out into the wall. As I was saying, like in an area where normally you'd not have to be able to overtake, you can. Whew, and he gets back on the track. Relatively safety, but he's got wing damage. But in an area where normally you wouldn't be able to overtake, he was able to. He would have been able to go through the ghosted car, not worry about him at all. But unfortunately, got loose on that turn 12 apex, it looked like, and is diving into the pit lane with wing damage. So the championship leader having a little bit of a rough go. Voki has found his way up to 7th place at this point, right behind Quimulus, so they're having a bit of a scrap going on, and now the DRS is enabled. It looks like Voki's going to have an opportunity to get a run as the Haas of Quimulus shoots down the line. Not quite close enough to close up the gap there, but can he get better traction into this start of Sector 2? Otherwise, he's going to be pretty much stuck through these quick turns right and left, and swings a little bit, has a tiny bit of a look into the hairpin, but dives back out to the racing line. Not quite enough of a door to get through, as Quimulus was able to cover that one off so far. But here we are coming to the next DRS zone. Voki still within that 1 second mark, and is going to have another opportunity to attack Quimulus here. Both started on the medium tires, so tire life shouldn't be too much of an issue, so it's going to be purely down to pace on who can stay in front of the other. But with the DRS zones coming out soon, it looks like Quimulus might be in a little bit of trouble. Only 0.4 back, and he gets a much better exit out of turn 13. Already catches the slipstream, is having a little look to the inside. Quimulus is just going to hold the racing line, isn't going too defensive, goes out wide and slots in cleanly. Didn't really fight that one too much, but we have a couple of fastest laps being set of the race. Golly Mooms, now that the race is finally getting under rhythm, we're finally able to get some lap times in. But it looks like Quimulus is going to go ahead and use the slipstream of Voki down the front straight. They were basically neck and neck coming through the detection point, so nobody had DRS down the front straight, unfortunately. Otherwise, it could have been a chance for Quimulus to attack back down that long straight. But there's Quimulus with the DRS open, but falling a little bit further back out of turns 1 through 3. And is just going to kind of be content to hold position, it would seem. It looks like Denelson now goes fastest lap into the 32.1s with that medium tire on at the back of the field there. So hopefully finding some clean air, trying to race his way up. Squiffs is right up behind Boomtech as far as the intervals go, and Boomtech right on Onslaught. So a pretty tight little scrap there. Boomtech has made his way past Onslaught. I would not be surprised if Squiffs finds their way through pretty quickly. But up at the front, Golly Mooms is still within that 1 second of QX Nemesis, who is carrying that 10-second penalty. So he's going to have to gap the field in order to challenge for the race win here. So we'll see what his tire strategy can make happen. Otherwise, there's almost a 5-second gap to the other Ferrari of NGP Racer. So if the results stood here, be a good haul of points for the Constructors' Championship for Ferrari. But so far, here we are, lap 8 of 29. Only one man is out of the race at the moment, Peabody's. And that is going to be 17 other cars running. So the quick rundown: Nemesis, Gali, NGP Racer, Racer 04, Voki, Quimulus, MJ Povey, Chuck SRQ, AWT Turbo, Felix the Feline, and Habs fan Nick running line astern in their Toro Rossos. Fast 6 driver, Boomtech, Squiffs, Onslaught, Denelson, and Rotlaw's bringing up the last running car at the moment, but he's had some issues with the wing damage so far. So Boomtech from the back of the field sets a 131.8 on those soft tires, or 131.0, sorry. So 131.2 was the previous best lap, so he is going with some pace. He's got about a 6-second gap to close up on Fast 6. But he's definitely got the pace to make it happen. So let's go ahead and take a peek. Jump to Racer 04, who is just inside that 1 second of NGP Racer, and is maybe going to try and have a look at him coming through. He's on the medium tires from the start of the race. A little bit of correction getting on the throttle there, but seems to keep it under control quite well. Let's see if he can get himself close enough to grab a good slipstream to set himself up for the DRS zone. Looks like the rear end might have stepped out a little bit on NGP Racer as he's losing ground. Was about 5 seconds back of Gali last lap, now sitting closer to 6 seconds. But Voki half a second back coming through that detection zone, so he is definitely going to have DRS. Now, is it going to be enough, or is NGP Racer going to give a little bit of extra electrical deployment to help fend him off? So he's closing the gap, and gets to the braking zone and has a little bit of a look to the inside. NGP leaves him the space, goes around the outside of turn 1, but is able to seal him off before turn 2. Looks like AWD has gone by Chuck SRQ a little bit further down the line there. Now AWD is going to set his eyes forward on MJ Povey. Oh, Chuck got him back. So the big old swaparoo, and Racer and NGP Racer and Racer 04, so many racers are still scrapping it out through Sector 1, and he's right up on him on Sector 2. As Boomtech set another fastest lap there, is reeling in that gap to Fast 6 Racer. Runs a little bit wide on the exit. That's not going to help him get the traction down particularly well. He is going to have the DRS to help make that zone up a little bit, that little bit of a drop back, but it's not going to necessarily allow him to attack into turn 11 there. So he's going to have to look to make his move through coming into turn 14 or coming down the main straight into turn 1. But a right good scrap between these two, and unfortunately it looks like it's costing NGP Racer a little bit of time as well. He's down to 6.6, so lost about another half second on that lead group, but now QX Nemesis looks to have finally broken the DRS on Gali. He's now 2.7, and Gali now coming into the pit lane, so a good time to do it. He was hanging with Nemesis, and then as soon as he loses out on the DRS, he's going to go ahead, make a good strategic move, and grab some new tires. So that's going to bump up Voki, Quimbulus, and MJ Povey in front. We'll see if Gali's able to get out in front of, doesn't look like Chuck, AWD, Felix is through, and it looks like the 29-second gap to Habs fan Nick will be plenty of space for him to come out in. Around Bahrain here, you lose roughly, I would say, probably about 22 to 25 seconds coming through. And that's going to be the difference between a one-stopper and a two-stopper. So it looks like most people are on mediums at this moment. Only guys on softs are Chuck and Boomtech. And we got a few guys out on the hard tires as well. So Boomtech still turning in quick laps, has closed up Fast 6, is now getting inside that 1 second in that DRS zone. So I would keep an eye on that tower. I would expect a move to be made pretty soon. But here is Povey in the DRS of Quimbulus and gets a great run coming out of turn 10 there, but not quite enough. So these two guys are going to scrap it out. MJ Povey, started on those soft tires and then made his pit stop onto the mediums. So he's got a little bit of a fresher tire than Quimbulus, who is on the mediums from the start of the race here. Likely trying to make the one-stopper work, because just not quite turning the lap times that some of the top guys are turning. But here is Povey just kind of setting up his line nice and close coming out of turns 14, 15 to send down the main straight. DRS wide open. Quimbulus makes a little bit of a move to break the toe, but nothing too aggressive. Staying to the inside, goes defensive into the braking zone of turn 1. So MJ around the outside there, side by side, leaves a little bit of space, but it looks like MJ has made that move stick through turn 2. So Quimbulus slots right in to the slipstream, and because Povey was behind at the detection point, also got that DRS down that short run into turn 4, so Quimbulus wasn't able to make another attack back. So Quimbulus, unfortunately, falling back down the order here. Lap 11, we are getting pretty close to the pit window for a lot of these guys that started on the mediums. And in that time, it looks like Boomtech has made his way past Fast 6 and is now only 1.6 seconds back of Habs fan Nick as well. So we're jumping to Voki, who is in this little three-man scrap now. Racer and Racer battling it out has allowed the racing point of Voki, who turning in a pretty good race so far, having started down the field, has caught himself up to the podium positions is what he'll be fighting for. So that little scrap in front of him has allowed him to become a part of it, and looks like Povey about 3.6 seconds down the road is going to try and make his way past, but at about less than a half a second back is usually enough to attack through the DRS down this main straight. So we'll see if Racer goes for the move into the braking zone, pulls out late, gets on the brakes, takes the inside line. They're going to go side by side through it. And he just kind of squeezes Racer onto the inside of turn 2. Luckily, the way turn 2 is set up, you can pretty much run 4 wheels on the curb and not pick up a penalty there. It looks like Voki was having a little bit of a look, but Racer manages not to lose the 2 positions as he's gotten put out of position there. But Racer is now up into P2, and Nemesis is nursing a almost 12-second gap now. So at the moment, Obviously, there are some pit stops still to be had throughout this race, but at this moment, Nemesis is outside of that 10 seconds he needs to gap the field to negate that penalty that he's got. And it looks like NGP is going to have another look on Racer down into turn 11. A little bit of a squeeze and gets bumped and turned. It's not what you want to see after such a good scrap for so many laps. Racer just came down, ran him out of room, and unfortunately NGP didn't really have anywhere to go. So contact was made and they lost that position. So Quimulus just now falling outside of that 1 second mark as he goes by NGP Racer, who was sideways at the moment. So we're jumping ahead. There's QX Nemesis grabbing his pit stop, going onto the hard tires. So it looks like he is going to be trying to take this one to the end. We'll see what position he comes out in. He is out in 5th place, just behind Quimulus on track. Looks like NGP Racer is diving into the pit lane, may have picked up some wing damage from that contact with Racer 04. But as it stands right now, Racer 04, Voki, and MJ Povey are holding down the podium positions. It looks like Squiffs and Denelson still near each other on track, starting to work their way up the field in 11th and 12th, 12th and 13th rather. Denelson within the DRS zone of Squiffs there, so we'll see if he can make a move past and start working his way up the field. Onslaught at the back of the field, unfortunately about 18 seconds off the pace now. I wonder if he had a bit of an off-track excursion that cost him some time. Looks like Gali in the Red Bull has made his way on the fresher tires past the Haas of AWD Turbo, as we would expect coming up there. So here we are jumping on board now with Marco Denelson. Squiff's catching up to the still ghosted Fast 6 driver, unfortunately not able to reconnect thus far. And so that means that when it comes time, it looks like Squiffs is going to have some DRS to help defend from the DRS of Denelson. And I wonder if he's sitting just far enough back to wait to spring as, he goes right past Fast 6 there. And it looks like he may not have gotten the DRS from it. He may have made the move just a little bit too soon. So here comes Denelson pulling out of the slipstream into the inside, controlling the outside as there's a little bit of wheel banging going on side by side through turn 2. And Squiffs makes contact with Denelson again and goes sideways and spins out. Really quick to hit the track reset button there. But he was trying to squeeze Denelson off of turn 3 and the contact didn't necessarily go his way there. Unfortunate that it cost that much time as he spun out. But now he is about 2 seconds behind Quimulus now and Fast 6. And Quimulus, I believe, is finally made his pit stop and is out on some fresh, hard tires. Yep, there's the white walls. Just had to wait to see him. And Quimulus is catching up to Fast 6, so he is luckily within DRS range there, trying to make his way through that ghosted car, not trying to worry about finding a way past. It looks like we got a yellow flag in Sector 3. We're looking for somebody to go dropping down the order. It looks like yellow flags, but nobody has lost any positions. MJ Povey into the pit lane for a stop out of 2nd place. And Racer 04 picks up a 3-second multiple track limit penalty there. So he is going to hurt for that one a little bit. It looks like we're on board with Voki, who is inside the DRS range of Racer now, who is also inside the DRS range of Habs fan Nick. That Toro Rosso running fairly well up on his strategy, mixing it up with the top of the field. I believe he has to make his final pit stop of the race still. I believe he's will be going on to the hards and is doing the one stopper that was favored by a lot of the field that had the choice, went with that one stopper. And you see on the timing screen there, it looks like Quimbulas has made his way past Fast 6 driver there. And has now got his eyes set on Marco Denelson up ahead, who has made his way up to P6 at the moment. So already made his two pit stops of the race. Likely to have to make another to make it the rest of the way. But unfortunately, a one-stopper is ideal. A two-stopper is okay. A three-stopper is not necessarily what you want to see. There we go. MJ Povey making his way through NGP Racer after on those fresher tires, it would seem. We've got the two Alfa Romeos of K3M and BoomTech sitting side by side. It's on BoomTech still down the field. Has had a couple of unfortunate incidents that caught him out from time to time. That's making it tough for our championship leader to climb up the field, and unfortunately sitting outside the points at the moment. Has to make up a few more positions to get in the points and try and defend his position there. So only 13 laps left to go. Give you a just post halfway rundown, as it looks like most of the pit stops, I believe, have settled down for the moment. We shouldn't see too many changes via that, but it looks like, Squiffs is coming up right behind Quimbulas here, has DRS right on the rear wing. Not an area where it's going to be easy to overtake through, so he's just kind of sitting back, biding his time, trying to look for a way past. It's a little wide, is lucky not to hit the bumpy section. Quimbulas goes a little wide through the hairpin, but is able to get the traction down and stay just ahead of Squiffs. Squiffs is going to try and get the traction down. This time with DRS through here, Quimbulas is going to get on the power and try and hold that position up. Maybe using a little bit of engine mode there. Squiffs not necessarily able. Literally cuts the track, but is still not able to come across. And so now he's catching up behind. It is likely with the pace that he's got, the pace advantage he's got over Quimbulas, it is just a matter of time before he's able to, maybe even on this corner here, should be able to pull out. Looks like Quimbulas is just holding the racing line, is looking to let him through. And it looked like there might have been a little bit of contact in the braking zones there, as Quimbulas got pushed quite a bit wider than you would expect for that braking zone, but Squiffs is through, and Quimbulas is just kind of tucked in the slipstream to try and gain time there, but it wasn't one that Quimbulas was necessarily going to fight too much, just because obviously there's a huge pace difference there, and I'd rather not lose the time fighting there. But now we've got MJ Povey, NGP Racer, Fast 6 driver, all following pretty closely in that pack. So we'll jump on board with MJ Povey, who is on a much better pace than Quimbulas. It's a little look, maybe a dive into the corner, not quite there. Maybe a good run up here, not quite quick enough up the hill. Had a look to maybe take a position, but he's going to settle in and hold the braking line there, and now he's going to have the DRS, but so is Quimbulas, still within that 1 second of Squiffs, just for the moment of the detection. But here comes Povey looking to the inside, dives it up the inside. Quimbulas not really able to fight it that much, but Povey gets a little bit squirrely coming out, and unfortunately, that little bit of looseness, Quimbulas checked up on there, and that also allowed NGP Racer through. And there's MJ Povey picking up a 3-second time penalty for track limits warnings there. The league does run on the strict track limits settings, so anytime you get 4 wheels off the racing surface, you get a warning. 3 warnings is a 3-second penalty, and so on and so forth. And particularly egregious ones that they choose sometimes are a 10-second instant, which I believe is what Nemesis picked up. Very likely to have happened around turn 1, because if you cut the hairpin and go 4 wheels off a little bit, it is in like almost an instant 10-second. But NGP Racer now in the DRS of Povey, trying to chase him up. Quimbulas still trying to hang with that pack of much quicker drivers at the moment. But now we can see, looking up the field a little bit, the rivalry brewing once again. Squiffs is starting to try and chase his way up to Marco Denelson once again, who right now is in a racing point sandwich between Voki and Squiffs. It looks like MJ Povey's gone a little bit wide. That's going to allow NGP Racer to get a really good run out of that corner. He's on the inside line, gets the DRS through and is able to switch it right through. But ooh, much better run through that corner from Povey. He's able to send it up the inside and get NGP back. But that's going to again put NGP in a really good spot to grab some slipstream and grab DRS down the next straight. He's only 0.58 back. So he's definitely within that range and closing. Quimulus has fallen off the group, 1.2 seconds back, so no longer going to get that DRS benefit. And in Fast 6 is coming up fast behind him, only 0.6 back. So very likely that there will be a position change there. The K3 goes through first. Oh, Fast 6 diving into the pit lane, so not there. And while we're talking about that, NGP Racer, as I figured, use that DRS to sail past MJ Povey down the main straight, but now Povey's going to attack back as they fight back and forth and back and forth. Povey moves to the racing line to try and disrupt NGP and takes that position off of him. So now coming through Sector 2, can NGP stay with him in the dirty air to have another attack down the next DRS zone? It certainly would appear so, and also just behind that, K3 is now 5/10 back of Quimulus. So it looks like there was a little bit of a stumble there, but still well within that DRS range as you see them just behind coming out. So Quimulus in the Haas has both of the Alfa Romeos chasing him down at the moment. And NGP is still there, 0.8 back at the moment, so not quite as good of a run through Sector 2, but should still have the slipstream down this straight and be in a position to grab the DRS down the front straight. If he can pull in close enough, he can have another chance to try and take that position off of NGP. So right now, Racer 04 is the biggest mover, up 10 positions. Voki up 9 positions over the course of this race. And you see a kind of a mix of 1 and 2 stops. AWD on 3 stops, so looks like he's had an adventure somewhere that's cost him a front wing. And here's K3M going by Quimulus, using that DRS power down the main straight. Quimulus has to kind of go a little bit around the outside and is pinched down to the inside. Not quite enough room to really fight it back. But now Boomtech has gotten forced a little wide by Quimulus. And Boomtech's got a good run, but Quimulus has the inside line on the corner. So it looks like they're going to fight their way down into the next section. So Boomtech is through and Quimulus slips up. But oh, Quimulus is a little quick coming through the next corner. A little tap behind on Boomtech and it just sends him around. Unfortunate. Boomtech has had so many troubles earlier in the race and that looks like it's wing damage for Boomtech there. Yep, you can see the end plate missing off of that front left. Looks like an element or two is also gone. Looked like Quimulus kind of let him through going into the first turn, but just carried a little too much speed as there was that change of direction, and it looks like just the difference in speed caught them out. So a disappointing bit of contact there. Another unfortunate incident for Boomtech. But NGP, as we jump back up ahead, still right there with Povey. And K3M has been on a 3 stop, so having pretty good pace to be in the top 10 while running 3 stops around this race so far. It looks like Denelson in for his 3rd stop of the race too, as you see him dropping down with that pit next to his name. NGP has a little bit of a look on Povey, not quite enough to make it. Not quite close enough that time. Man, it's been quite a battle going on between these two guys for quite some time now as we're on the end game of the race here. Lap 21 of 29. Only 8 laps left to go. So that means likely Denelson is diving into the pits for a set of soft tires. So you should see him close up some intervals pretty quickly. Habs fan Nick about 5 seconds back of Quimulus, but Habs fan is on the medium tire. Quimulus on the hard. So it's just going to be a matter of kind of counting down laps to see if that position for the bottom set of the points holds off. But otherwise, Racer still in a fight with Voki, has a chance to get himself on the podium. And Nemesis, as everybody looks to have kind of made their last stops essentially has a 13.5 second gap on Gali up at the front. So he is clear of that 10-second penalty that he needed to gap throughout this race. Has really driven a fantastic race so far out at the front of the field, really just setting the pace for everybody. Let's see, Racer about 3/4 of a second back coming across that line. DRS open. Is he going to have enough ground to close up and make an attack on Voki into turn 1 as that wing slams shut and he hits the brakes? Not quite close enough. So looks like Squiffs is diving into the pits as well to grab another set of fresh tires. And K3 in for another pit stop. So a lot of time in the pits for K3 today. Not the race I'm sure he was hoping to have. So now the top 10 set out as we have about 7 laps left to go. QX Nemesis at the top of the field. Gali in P2. Voki about 6 seconds back there, but he is in a scrap with Racer 04 for that final podium spot. About a 9-second gap to MJ Povey, then 2/10 back to NGP Racer as those two guys have been battling it out constantly. Then another bit of empty turf. It looks like NGP is about to make a move. Maybe got to within a 10th, but has dropped back. So it looks like he had a look in a braking zone. Not quite there, but about 7 seconds back is Quimbulis holding that about 5-second advantage to Habs Van Nick. M. Dennelson already has closed up to 2.3 seconds back on Habs Van Nick, and Squiffs is the last man in the points. 9 seconds behind Dennelson, but about 2 seconds clear of Fast 6 out of the points. And Squiffs just put on some new tires, so he should have pretty good pace the rest of the way through this race. All right, here we go. Fast 6 trying to set up another move. MJ Povey trying to break the slipstream a little bit. Which side is he going to go to? NGP thinking about the would have been a way back lunge, but thinks better of it, gets back on the racing line, and there it is. M. Dennelson, fastest lap of the race, 31.0, taking it away from BoomTech there. So his fresh, soft tires are really paying dividends for him at this stage of the race after getting loose at the start and having an incident that sent him to the back of the field, and a few frustration scraps with Squiffs over the course. But it looks like they're kind of settling. It looks like BoomTech has actually gone even a little bit faster. The times are dropping, a 30.9, so he goes about 2/10 faster to take that fastest lap point away from Dennelson there. Now, of course, only the top 10 will get a point if they set the fastest lap. So as it stands right now, BoomTech grabbing that fastest lap from his position is just a way to help protect his lead. Try and protect his lead by keeping a point off the board for the rest of the field. But there's NGP, goes a little bit wide, coming through trying to get past Povey. And there's Quimbulis, picks up a 3-second time penalty. So instead of trying to manage that 5-second gap the rest of the way, now he's got to keep it to 3 seconds. And Dennelson is now 4/10 back of Habs Van Nick, while Habs Fan is still at about that 5-second mark behind Quimbulis. So here we go. NGP having another look, just not quite getting the speed down that front straight to have that attack on MJ Povey there. But there we go. Dennelson going by Habs Fan Nick under DRS. Across the line there is Onslaught just ahead, who is going to receive the blue flags. But as we were looking away, K3M sets the fastest lap, goes even faster at 30.7, and NGP Racer has made his way past MJ Povey. So that battle for 5th position is not over, but Povey, dives to the inside, a little bit of an overrun on the track. Looks like he's pulling. Okay, he pulled aside after cutting that corner, gave the position back. Good, fair play for that. Well done. After some of the frustrations and scraps and bumping we've seen earlier in this race, it's nice to see a little bit of a cleanliness going on. So props to that, giving that position back. And there's AWD picking up a corner cutting penalty late in this race. NGP Must have locked up a tire or something. Has gone very wide through turn 13. That's going to allow MJ Povey to dive down the inside. But if NGP can grab the slipstream, he'll still be in behind in the DRS. But late on the brakes, a little bit of a rear tap. That's wing damage for him. Oh, that's so unfortunate. After such a good battle, just was a little overeager on the brakes. Got into the back of MJ Povey, who might have been a little early on the brakes, and causes some front wing damage. That's going to harm his race, but they're still battling it out side by side. But once we get into the more technical sections of the track, he will feel that damage to the front wing. That was Povey pulling to let him through. It looks like it after that bump there. It looks like Povey owning up to the early braking, giving that spot back, and almost getting into the back of NGP Racer there. BoomTech goes faster yet again, going even lower into the 30s. And Denelson now 2.3 seconds back of Quimulus. They're closing up that gap pretty rapidly. Racer has unfortunately fallen off of that podium position race. He's now 2.3 seconds back. We're looking down the field. Looks like everybody's got a couple of seconds of gap aside from this particular scrap right here. These guys have been at it for quite some time, and I don't think they're finishing up any time soon, as Povey is looking to find a way past NGP Racer. I'm sure it would have been easy for Povey in one of the instances where there was a contact to just not give the position back and run off, try and run off ahead, but has done well to give those spots back. It looks like AWD has retired after falling a lap down and having a few warnings to deal with. Here goes NGP down the inside into turn 1. A little bit of wheel banging as he goes a little bit deep, but he is through and back up to P5. So here we are, still having a look. Is he going to be close enough under braking to really make an attack through any of these sections? But the laps are counting down. Lap 26 of 29 at this stage in the race. And Racer 04 still the biggest gainer, up 10 positions from his start. Started 14th, it would appear, and is up to 4th and was fighting for the podium. And BoomTech calling it a day, well out of the points, had just lots of unfortunate contact throughout the whole thing, and was really just not an ideal day for our championship leader. So it looks like NGP's a little further back this time, but you would expect them to lose a little bit of time through that section with that broken front wing. Looks like he got a little loose on the exit. Yeah, you can see that time interval jump from 0.4 to over a second. So it looks like the back end stepped out on him coming out of turn 13. And that just might be the end of this scrap. Might. There's only a couple of laps left to go, but it looks like Denelson still on those fresher soft tires, still closing up Quimulus, who is carrying that 3-second penalty. It also looks like Habs fan Nick has done well to stay within a couple of seconds of Denelson, use that slipstream to close the gap up, so he appears to be nearly within the 3-second gap of Quimulus as well when you add up Denelson and Habs fans intervals there. And Swift's charging up there. He's only now 5 seconds back of Habs fan Nick. But here we are on board with Nemesis way out in front, coming across, getting ready to hit the final 2 corners and jump across the start-finish line to start his penultimate lap of the race. Looks like there's a yellow flag in both Sector 1 and Sector 2. Keep an eye on the timing screen, see if anybody drops off significantly. That seems to be okay. That seems to be all right. No huge time losses for anybody there, but here's Gali out in his own clean air, 16 seconds behind Nemesis and 3.5 seconds clear of Voki. You can just see it's just a matter of make no mistakes. Squiffs picks up another 3-second time penalty. You see there there on the bottom for another track limits warning there. It looks like Denelson now inside of a second of Quimbulas down there on the timing screen. And Habs fan Nick only about a second behind that. So definitely going to lose that position there. Denelson has a little look, but not quite close enough. A little bit of a lockup coming into that corner. But seems that pitted on lap 21 for those softs. So they could be starting to lose some of that life. And Habs fan Nick is using that to his advantage to kind of stay in there. But just straight on pace. Obviously, Denelson, the pole sitter for this race, running a 3-stop, so really kind of chewing his way through the field right and left. So definitely much better pace overall throughout the course of this race than Quimbulas, who is on hard tires that are fairly old. I believe he pitted on lap 14 this time around, so he's looking at about another 15 laps of wear on those hard. So here we go. Marco with the DRS open. Trying to grab some slipstream on Quimbulas. Swings out wide. Not quite close enough to make the attack into turn 11 there. So he's going to kind of go in through turn 12, 13. Just set himself up to use that slingshot of a slipstream coming down the second to last little straight here. So here he is in the toe. Is he going to have enough time, enough pace to get through? Not quite. Quimbulas grabs a little bit of extra curb there, not the best exit, but now Denelson right up behind, 2/10 plus DRS should be a pretty easy move. And there you go, is Habs fan Nick with the DRS as well, closing aggressively, but not quite close enough for Quimbulas to drop 2 positions right away, but goes wide through the exit of 2. Really puts himself under attack from Habs fan Nick there, so he's got to turn up the engine, try and defend that position, but luckily has DRS off of Marco Denelson there. But as we are on the final lap of the race here, last kind of little scrap going on throughout this this track here. Everybody else is pretty well separated from those around them. But can Quimbulas stay within that 1 second of Denelson, who gets real squirrely on the exit of that corner? Quimbulas gets a good run up the hill, but not really enough to do a safe attack. So gets out of the throttle, it looks like, and holds down, but is now going to try maybe make a move on Marco Denelson. Right up behind, catching that slipstream. Not quite enough of a drag race power to make it past Marco Denelson. Really not necessarily worth the race, as Nemesis, Gali, and Voki have all crossed the finish line to secure their podium spots. Racer 04, sticking to his number, comes across in 4th. K3M picking up another 3-second time penalty on the last lap there. Quimbulas trying to defend for his life from Habs fan Nick. Doesn't really matter, as MJ Povey crosses the line in 5th, as he's going to lose that position on his time penalty regardless. But there goes NGP Racer across, Denelson across, Habs fan Nick, and then Quimbulas is relegated behind Habs fan Nick from that penalty. Squiffs holds down P10. K3M comes across in P11. Fast 6 is finishing in P12. Chuck SRQ, last man on the lead lap, looks to be crossing the line pretty soon here, followed up by Felix DeFeline and Onslaught 033. 3 non-finishers today: Boomtech, AWD, and Peabods. But after an absolutely dominant race around the track here at Bahrain, it is QX Nemesis who takes the top spot. And unfortunately, Boomtech's podium streak comes to an end. He's out of the points today, so that will have some impact on his level in the championship standings. And so after that thrilling conclusion, the season standings have had a few bit of changes here and there. QX Nemesis takes over the top spot from Boomtech, who falls down to P2. Gali moves 5 with his podium, moves up into P3, overtaking NGP Racer, who finished 6th today. Marco Denelson in the Red Bull is now fifth in the championship, followed by Fast Six in his McLaren. MJ Povey is 7th, followed by Habs fan Nick in 8th. K3M Rodalos in 9th in the championship. Racer 04 in 10th. Voki on the podium up to 11th. A late joiner in the series has made some huge strides up over guys who started. Dayman P12, who's been here since week 1. AWD Turbo P13, who has been here since week 1. Felix the Feline, Quimbulus, and Onslaught make up 14, 15, and 16. And then Squiffs, followed by Chuck SRQ and Peabods, bringing up the tail end of the championship standings, up to date and up to the moment. So thank you guys for joining me for this race here. Next week, there is no official race going on, but I know a few of the leagues are setting up some special mini championships, so keep an eye on the YouTube channels of all of our drivers and all the Twitch channels to see what comes out of those. But I will catch you all next time. Have a good one.